Let's talk about the aerospace and airline side of things. Sheila, this earnings season, the expectations have to be low, right? We kind of know how bad it is right now, and it doesn't seem like people I know are traveling that much anyway. So what exactly are you seeing in the data that you're analyzing right now?
Sure, Don. Thanks for having me so early, and you're so clever so early in the morning as well. So what we saw at the end of the quarter was actually cancellations ticking up because of a supply issue, labor shortages issues. The last 15 days at the airlines, cancellations were around 5% versus a 1% normalized rate. But what we've surprisingly seen in the data over the last 2 weeks is a demand issue starting to tick in. TSA numbers are now down 25% versus 2019 levels, a big change, about 10 points from where we saw at the start of November. So we're starting to see demand kick in and a little bit of fear. We recently conducted a survey of US consumers, and 40% said their travel plans were disturbed because of the new variant. But also, what you're seeing in January and the fall off in the TSA numbers is really corporate. Even the large financial firms are pulling back, and you're not seeing corporate hit the road, which is a prime time in January to come in. So, yes, there's a bit of a supply issue in December that's now changed to a demand issue, and we're yet to see when that'll pick up. So the setting is not all that great for airlines heading into this earnings season.
So Sheila, I mean, you mentioned the survey. I will offer right now that my family had made plans to go to Florida just over this long weekend coming up. We canceled them about 2 or 3 weeks ago because not because of fear of COVID so much, but fear of the COVID logistics after we got back, kids having to quarantine, do all that kind of stuff. And so how long is that going to last? Is there anything in your survey data that suggests people want to travel at some point in the future? How many trips do they plan to take? What exactly are consumers like me saying en masse?
Well, the good news is, from a domestic standpoint, what we found is consumers expect to take 4.6 trips in 2022, in line with what they took in 2019. So that confirms a lot of the thesis, whether you're playing airlines or you're playing commercial aerospace manufacturers, is that domestic travel is set to return to 2019 levels sometime late this year into 2023. So that checks the box with what we're expecting. But the international is still low. International is even worse. It's 36% below 2019 levels in terms of what our consumers expect to travel in 2022 relative to their 2019 levels. And a lot of that is because of the logistics. So Florida is great because you don't have to test to come back. But if you're stuck because of a quarantine for an extra 2 weeks, it no longer turns into a vacation that you wanted. So that's what we're hearing. Domestic's coming back. International is going to be prolonged.
So okay, before we let you go, let's put the kind of rubber meets the road question out there. If it's a low base for international right now and expectations are really, really depressed, does that mean you want to tilt towards your investments in airlines with international exposure, like maybe a United or a Delta? What's the top pick there?
So we have a very cautious view on the airlines overall. Delta's our only buy rating in the group. We have a tilt towards Delta because of their international exposure. 50% of their international is geared towards transatlantic versus 40% for the other major carriers. We think transatlantic is going to be the first corridor to open up. In fact, when the November 8th regulations were removed between traveling back and forth within the US and Europe, we saw that already open up. So that's really why we like Delta. And second, it's for its corporate play, higher corporate exposure to small, medium businesses, which have returned. And I'm sure Ed Bastian will tell us more about that today, versus the large corporates that are holding back. And so that's really why the second reason why we like Delta, and we like it for pricing. Delta's seeming to offer more for the consumer, and therefore could potentially garner more pricing power in a market that's going to see 25% higher capacity. So could see pricing risk in this inflationary environment.